Okay, this is the second chord progression video, and in this video we'll talk about which chords are generally used by players when they are harmonizing melodies. In the first chord progression video we talked about naming chords, and doing that, as I said, is not difficult, but it does take practice to do it quickly. So at the end of this video I'll give you a little practice in perfecting that skill. So if you have a little melody, like take Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and you play it in the key of C like this, and you want to add chords in the left hand to that melody, you have to decide what chords are going to work. You decide that before you start the melody. And if you play in the key of C, the chords will also have no black notes in them because the key of C has no black notes. Okay, so let's start by playing all the chords in the key of C. There are 7 of them. Now when I say 7 chords, I mean 7 3-note chords, 7 triads. Alright, so some of those chords that I played are major chords and some of them are minor chords. And I'll try now to define or explain the difference between a major chord and a minor chord. Do you remember that when we had our 7th chord videos, I talked about the interval of a third? So here's a C root chord. Alright, that's composed of 2/3. This is the first one, and that's the second one. Alright, so in this first one, if you count the semitones in it, you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 semitones, and if you count the semitones in the second third, you count 1, 2, 3. So there. So therefore this is a major third and this is a minor third. So the definition of a major chord is a major third and a minor third. This is called a major chord. Now if you play the next one, this D chord, and you count the semitones in this third, 1, 2, 3, you have 3 semitones. If you count the semitones in that third, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just the opposite of the first chord. This is a minor third and that's a major third. So therefore this is called a minor chord. Okay? So there's one other thing. There's another way that you can tell whether this is a major chord or a minor chord, and that's by the sound. So a minor chord, to some people, sounds sadder than the major chord. That sounds happy to some people, especially when you play the minor chord softly, like this. Alright, and if you play it loudly, it doesn't sound happy, it sounds sort of serious or even angry maybe. But if you play the C chord, which is a major chord, and you play it loud, it sort of sounds, I don't know, important or magisterial or something, not angry. Anyway, it's an important skill to be able to tell if it's a major chord or a minor chord just by the sound of it. And students get better at that as they go along. All right. So there's one other change we're going to make before we actually harmonize the Twinkle Twinkle. The G chord, instead of just playing a G chord, we're going to play a G7 chord. Now there's nothing wrong with a G chord. We can use a C chord, an F chord, and a G chord. But the G7 chord is used more often than the G chord. Oh, by the way, I was going to play all the chords of a C scale to see if you could tell by sound, or maybe by looking at it, which is major or minor. So I'll play them all. All right. So if you decided that the first one and the fourth one and the fifth one were major, then you are correct. They were the only major ones. And so, as I said before, instead of the G major, we're going to use G7. All right. Now, right now, just before we end the video, I'm going to play a few chords, and I want you to. I'll play a chord, and then I'll wait a little bit, and you push the pause button on your recording, and if you can tell, then you play the chord, and you name it, and then you can push play again and see what I named it and see if you got the right answer. So I'll play, here's some chords. All right, that's a C chord, first inversion. Okay, that's an F chord, root position. All right, that's a G7 chord because that's the top note of the butterfly is G. All right. Yes, that's a D minor root position chord. One more. Okay, that's a C chord, second inversion. And if I see the bottom note is G, so if I play a G octave down here and I play all of these notes that are in the C chord, this is still a second inversion G chord because the bottom note is G. And so I'll just play a nice loud C chord to end with, and in the next video we'll actually harmonize Twinkle Twinkle. All right, see you then.